Hi, and welcome to the Divinely Inspired Woman podcast. I am your host, Patricia Wald-Hopkins. I am a modern mystic, and I am here to share with you the beautiful wisdom and stories from women that desire to lead their lives inspired by the divine within them. The divinely inspired woman is devoted to walking the path of her soul's calling, tuning into the divinity within to navigate life with ease and grace through all circumstances. She cultivates beauty in her daily life. She is here to share the most authentic self each day through thick and thin. So I hope you'll enjoy our show today and that you will leave with an infusion of inspiration for your soul and for your day and living your life. Hello and welcome, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Divinely Inspired Woman, where we are helping women align to their soul's calling. And my name is Patricia Wald-Hopkins, and I have a beautiful guest with me today, Michele Joy. And we're going to talk to her a little bit about what divinely inspired means to her in her life and her journey with it. She is a soul evolution guide, a healer, and activator. And I'm hoping that she'll share a little bit more about what all of that means as we go through this conversation. But welcome, Michele. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Patricia. And I'm always so blessed. I always feel blessed to connect with you. And I'm always grateful that you think of me to connect with you when you do these collaborations. And thank you for having me, darling sister.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Yeah. So, divinely inspired woman, a divinely inspired woman. What does that bring up for you?
It brings up a lot, and it brings up um, my inner child.
Hmm.
When I reflect on that deeply, as a child, that obviously we still carry our child with us even into adulthood through our evolution. But I was very, very divinely connected as a little girl, and
Mm.
I had an unwavering um, faith, I suppose would be the right word, if you can even put a word to it, and knowing that God source, there was something that was bigger than us, that created us, that guided us, and that wanted the best for us. And for a long time in my childhood, that was what divinely guided me until it didn't. But until I lost my way, which we all do, and that was part of the soul's experience. So yeah, it brings up a lot of stuff from childhood, which
Mm.
is quite beautiful, but also it has a little bit of vulnerable little ick there as well. Yeah.
Yeah, a divinely inspired child then as well. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I used to go to church with my grandma. I mean, I come from a Catholic background,
Mm-hmm.
and I was always really just like, I want to get to God. I want to know God. I was kind of wanting to be next to my grandma as well, because she was the mother figure that I had for some time, and it was a beautiful way for me to kind of spend quality time with her while connecting with God. But that wasn't my path, and I quickly knew it wasn't my path. And then I explored a lot of other organized religions to find God, and it wasn't until a bit later in life that I knew that we were actually encoded
Mm.
with God, and that
Mm.
if we connected to that, and I know people don't always like the word God, so source, infinite spirit, great spirit, whatever it is, it's all the same. But that if we connect to that within us, then we will be divinely inspired. And of course, we hear the guidance as we're going through our journey of life, and we don't always heed that, and we often go the other way. But that's all part of the journey as well. But finally, when I started to awaken really, really deeply, I started realizing that I have to follow the inspiration that comes from the divine. And then if I do anything different, I'm actually creating more distortions that I have to kind of heal within my life. So, but I know
Hmm.
for a lot of people it can be quite challenging to know what is divinely inspired and what's coming from the other stuff, coming from the ego.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And that's, part of why I want to have these sorts of conversations with women is to, discover what ways uh, do we connect to the divine and let the inspiration, flow into us and then out into our life. Can you share a little bit about that connection for you? What if you feel, if it feels comfortable, what that is like for you?
Yeah, of course, because that's really important actually. And it's part of the passion of my work as a soul activated guide and healer too, to help people connect to their divinely inspired guidance. Well, I feel in some ways I was really blessed because I was born with this faith. And I know why now with, how old and ancient kind of my soul is and how long it's been on the journey, not so much on earth, but beyond that. That I just had that encoded, and I was actually brought in onto the earth at this time to help others remember their connection to God's source. So that's why I call myself a soul evolution guide activator and healer, because the whole thing that I'm passionate about, that my heart wants to do, is help others connect to their
Mm,
divine guidance. But for me, it was challenging at first because even though I had this unwavering faith, I had a will to not be here. I didn't
mm,
want to live for a
mm,
long time. I really,
mm,
and I would sort of say, well, why am I here? Because this is, I can't even heal my own deep wounds from this planet. And it was only through the divine guidance, that connection, that I stayed living, that I didn't take
mm,
myself and uh, and away. And I knew that I was here for something, and I knew that if I did that, I would not complete my soul mission. So
mm,
even though when I was really wounded and really in my traumas and I was using lots of substances and I was quite broken, but we're never really broken, but in that state I felt that
mhm.
I I just knew there was still something. My codes kept bringing me back and saying, no, you can't do that. This is not what you're here to do. So how I did it was actually by simplifying everything in my life,
Mm,
because a frenetic life, a hectic, busy life, sort of keeps us distracted from our divine guidance.
mm,
And I know everybody talks about this, but it really is slowing everything down.
mm, mhm.
Stillness, it's actually facing the traumas and the shadow and all of the things that really aren't us at the
Yeah.
core of our soul codes. They are just our experiences and what we're here to kind of peel off and learn from.
Mhm.
And so it is stillness. It is stillness and simplifying. Once I started to do that, once I started to own my power a little bit more, say no to things that I didn't want to do, carve out time that I could have just with me and my own thoughts and my own processes, uh,
Mhm.
and writing is
Writing.
the big one, because I had to get a whole lot of stuff out of my head. And I was
Mhm.
always writing. I was always writing poetry, even when I was, when I was much younger. I was writing streams of consciousness, trying to get things out and process. So
Mhm.
writing is the other thing that connected me to my divine guidance, because we channel our higher selves quite often when we're writing, when we're in that stream of
Yeah.
consciousness.
Yeah.
Very cathartic, very healing.
Beautiful. So stillness, getting quiet, writing. Yeah, those are all beautiful portals to receive. And so once you receive the inspiration, like, how do you know? I mean, like, there's different ways people know, and they feel it, they hear it, they see it, they smell it, they taste it, like, how do you know when it's what it is? Like, what is do you have a particular like signal, or something that you're like, yeah, I'm on track?
Yeah, that's also a really good question because I had so much trauma in my body that I was disconnected from the body
Okay.
because the body is usually a really good barometer for my
Mm-hmm.
truth. And I still stand by the fact that the body, and I use the body now that I've done a bit of work on myself. But there is, I mean, we have that saying, the gut instinct.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I would feel it just down here in my solar plexus when something and it's very subtle, but I just was a knowing. And my biggest clair that came through was claircognizance,
Okay.
which was also quite hard to kind of, it was just this knowing, and I was lucky I was born with that. And so for me, it was just, I just knew. But when I'm guiding my clients and the people I work with, I often help them try and tune in to their bodies more. When you've had a lot of trauma, that can be challenging, and I know that. And I
Mm-hmm.
also teach them, like, you can use, some people use pendulums and all those kind of things to kind of, I'm not one for that because it can be really distorted, but your body can't. So if you really want to know if something's in alignment or not, and you want a yes no kind of response, one of the first things that I started to learn to tune into my answers was to use my body as a pendulum.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Body
Mm-hmm.
doesn't lie. So, and all you need to do is calibrate that by, standing up nice and straight and asking your higher self, setting the intention that only the purest answer comes through, and asking to be shown a yes, and your body will move forward or back depending, and then ask to be shown a no, and that should be the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
You can ask to be shown a maybe or a don't know, and that will usually be a sway side to side, or it could be a spin. Everyone's different. There is no right or wrong way. And then you can test it, and you can get the validation by, is my name Michele Joy? Is my name something else? And you make sure that you have that knowing of truth or not truth, and you check the answers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that is a really beautiful way to start the process of your own deeper intuitive guidance. And
Yeah.
eventually you don't need to use that anymore because you'll be so tuned to your body's kind of little twitches and syncs that you just know. Also, our heart is a beautiful barometer.
Mm.
We always say, get out of your mind, listen to your heart, follow your heart.
Mm-hmm.
And until you start to do a little bit of work, that can also be hard because we don't process our emotions properly. But when we start to do that, the heart knows. And usually the ego is the bigger voice.
Yeah.
That's do. But the intuition and the divine guidance is, I mean, not for everybody, I guess. Everybody's different, but usually it can be a softer, just an inner knowing.
Softness.
That's why the body is such a beautiful barometer.
Yeah. I love that you said that. Like, the energy I'm feeling, I'm not sure if the words you used were exactly, but the softness, right? That's when you know that you're tuned in. And you know, you and I are sitting here tonight as we're moving out of the gene key of clarity and intuition. And it's the clarity. They say it's the softening. That's how you are connected to your intuition. Like, that's when you know, is that softness in your body. So you just said that like perfectly clear. I mean, it's amazing that we don't soften our bodies more, right? I mean, we hold, and even the belly, right? We kind of squish it and hold it in because of social norms, or whatever.
Yeah, that's
Um,
true.
and so how do you feel about, when you work with people or even with yourself, how do you get yourself to soften? Like, do you have some special tricks or techniques to share?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's a work in progress for me because a lot of my trauma came when I was a baby, and my mother was very unwell. So in utero, I stored a lot of trauma in my body, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
still undoing that, unraveling it. So my solar plexus is a work in progress. And through that's I say that because that's where that belly area can be where we have a lot of our limiting beliefs, which interfere
Mm-hmm.
with our body is very, very tight, and we also haven't allowed the emotions to flow through, which is stored in the body, which creates a tightness. And obviously, we want that softness. So, I I am a big advocate of breath work.
Mm.
It is what is working for me, and when I don't do it for a couple of days, I really feel it. So
Mm.
much so I'm about to do a breathwork facilitator course. I'm passionate about it, and it doesn't have to be rigorous breathing at first. You can do very gentle things, and also the more simple breathing sometimes is the best. But finding, even if it's 10 minutes a day, to consciously breathe
Mhm.
will connect you to your body. So if you've been somebody who's been very dissociated from the physical realm, it's time to use the breath to come in. Breath is life.
Mhm.
Breath
Mhm.
is, and it also does a lot for your spiritual gifts as well. So once you clear and detox a lot of the stuff in the physical, then the energetic detox comes about, and the emotional detox too, I should say, because I often cry and have profound releases when I'm doing my breathwork sessions. And then the kind of activation of the third eye, the crown, comes online. So it's such a healing practice. And then I follow the breath work. It allows us to get into that softness and stillness. If we have a monkey mind, which I did, and I still do some days, of course, we all do, it helps to slow down the mind, and then you can easily or more easily go into a meditation or
Mhm.
just a bit of contemplation, a little bit
Mhm.
of gentle yoga
Mhm.
too, stretching the body. Nothing.
Mhm.
I went through the process thinking I was connecting to my body by becoming a personal trainer. I was super fit. I mean, running still helped. I loved running, and it still clears the mind. But I used to push myself very, very
Mhm.
hard, and all I did was further disconnect myself from the body. I couldn't sit with myself, so I'd be running, and then I'd be doing some strength work and power kind of yoga and everything that was masculine and not feminine. But
Mm.
always thinking about being feminine is a softness practice as
Yeah.
well. So a very gentle yoga practice where you're just stretching, like a yin.
Yin yoga. Yeah.
And just a few things like um, just being in downward dog and
Mm.
doing child's pose or happy baby, like those really simple ones that everybody can do. Doesn't
Yeah.
have to be about ego, just and that will stretch the body out because yoga will also help you connect while you're in the posture to your breath.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, I think
Yeah.
it's just all very simple. It doesn't have to be complicated. I'm also a big proponent of keeping everything simple,
Yeah.
having a foundation, having a base, and all of the revelations and all of the healing will come after that. Just give yourself that love with gentle stretching, some breath work, because it's self-care is self-love, isn't it? I mean,
Mhm. Mhm.
when we don't give ourselves self-care, it's because we don't believe we deserve that.
Right.
There's a deep, deep core wound there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's just a critical piece, is to allow yourself to receive, right? To receive that nourishment and that gentleness and that love of the, almost of the mother, right? Or the divine couple, or the parents, like, that's, I don't know, that's the image that came through when you were speaking about that. It's almost like recreating that um, safe haven for your body to just let go, right? Like you're
Yes.
being held gently. Yeah, that's
I love that you got that image actually, because one of the ways that that I downloaded to heal my inner child was to start becoming an inner parent to my inner child.
mm-hmm.
So to give myself everything that I didn't get when I was young, because it's never too late.
Right.
And that kind of, that kind of container of self-care and doing those simple practices is like your inner parent saying, now come on, it's time to connect with the body. Come on, it's time to connect with the breath. And listen to that inner parent, because your inner parent wants what's best for the inner child.
Yeah.
And also, it gets you really empowered and out of a victim state of consciousness, and because you are doing something about it, you're doing something gentle for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you maybe share a little bit about that, that victim consciousness? I don't know why I'm asking you to share on that, but it just feels like it's really super important to shift that, right? To pivot when you feel like you're, a victim. Um, Even if things you had trauma. So, because I know you work with trauma, how do you help people shift that? Because definitely they need to be acknowledged for, what has happened to them, but then to gently shift into this more empowered role so that they can take care of themselves or feel like they deserve to be taken care of.
Yeah, definitely. And part of that is the inner child work when we take care of that, and that can then connecting to that. But see, the way the way I have sort of been guided by source and the energies that I work with is that the victim consciousness is what keeps us in distortion and keeps
Mhm,
us tight and wound up,
mhm,
and it doesn't empower us. So that's the reason why I do soul evolution guidance and activations and healings, is because we want to work from the perception level of the soul.
mhm,
From the 3D human perception level, we're victims. Rise it up, take that higher vantage point, that broader image, and we see that the soul often chooses all of these experiences for our evolution, including some of the most traumatic. So, for example, I received guidance that I carry the abandonment wound and neglect. So I have one from each parent, and I received guidance that my mother and my souls actually, and we'd had a past life together, that we'd gotten together as souls and we orchestrated these experiences. Because obviously we're eternal divine beings, and these human
mhm,
experiences are very short in comparison to the consciousness that we are and to our journey. So it's very empowering to sort of understand that I chose as a soul to have these experiences, these core wounds that have created a whole lot of, distortions for me over the years and allowed
mhm.
me to make a lot of mistakes in relationships and all of that kind of thing. But it was for my own evolution. And then when you have that lived experience as a soul, often it's to carry the codes to be able to help others as well. Whether you, because even if you just heal yourself, you're helping others because you're
Right.
shining a brighter light. So it's just for taking the vantage point of your soul, knowing that you're not a victim, and actually your souls chose quite a few experiences. And also we've got karma, cause and
Mhm,
effect playing out too, which we need
mhm,
to kind of even and smooth out. So some of
mhm,
it's that, and either way, it's still for your soul's betterment. So we don't want to discount and victim blame the trauma, but it happens for a more divine reason often.
mhm. Divine
And
reason.
once we get into that kind of reasoning, we start to perceive everything in our lifetimes from our soul's perspective. When we play small, we play in the human, we play in the ego, we play in the victim. But we're not small. We're huge consciousness beings. We're eternal beings,
Mm,
and everything that we experience and heal from is going to encode us for our evolution.
yeah. Yeah, I love that. That is it, right? It's that soul perspective that you can shift out of the victim, the victim mind. Yeah, you can see that divine reasons, divine purpose. Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing um, more about that because I think that a lot of people get stuck, right?
Yeah.
They get
Oh, I
stuck.
was there. I was stuck for
Yeah.
some 25 years, in that
Yeah.
victim state. And it's a
Thank you.
helplessness state. Yeah.
Yeah. And so if somebody, who's listening and, they're not familiar with, a lot of, or maybe a little bit of it, of what you're talking about or not, but what is a, a gentle way to begin um, connecting to that soul perspective?
Yeah. And well, actually, I think it's more of the same to connect to your body,
Okay.
because it's the writing.
Mm-hmm.
That was the thing that always, the written word was a big big solace for me, like over the years, even when I was, not kind of treating my body well and I was going too hard in either way, but I still kept a journal. And so my higher consciousness would come through.
Mhm.
Not when you're writing, like to make it sound good, or when you're editing, like when you're getting into the mind, but when you're just opening up and just writing. You just
Yeah.
start and it writes. And it's not about the quality of the writing, it's just about processing that stream of energy through
Hmm.
brain, the mind, in onto the page. And whether you do it on a computer or when you do it on a pen and paper, it doesn't matter. It just has to be streaming. That is a really beautiful way to connect. Some people might feel they need to use like oracle cards and things like that at the beginning, which is perfectly fine. And I have a few favorite decks that helps me connect if I'm feeling a little bit blocked. So, but it's once again stillness as well. You have to give yourself the time. This world has been created full of distractions and busyness. And if, we've noticed over the years that we've become
Yeah.
busier and we're supposed to be getting, less busy with all of the convenience of technology, but that hasn't happened. So that's a distraction, and it actually keeps us in a separation from that divine aspect of us. So the simplifying your life, carving out the time and finding some stillness is perfectly aligned to connecting with the divine. A lot of Tibetan monks and swamis, for example, will always talk about contemplation meditation.
Hmm.
So we have to contemplate ourselves. The gene keys is another tool, and we can do that.
Hmm.
Um, and just go within and really connect with who we really are, because we lie to ourselves a lot.
Yeah.
The ego does anyway, as a form of protecting itself. It doesn't want to relinquish its control. So we have to be really honest about when we're lying to ourselves. And that so contemplation is another way to connect to the divine. Everyone knows, even the ones who deny it. I think everyone feels that connection sometimes, that we're, that soul connection. It's funny because a lot of people will talk about their soul even if they're not on a spiritual path. It's like there's just
Right.
this inner knowing that we have a soul spark.
Ah, yes, that soul spark.
That's all it needs, a little bit of spark, and then to put into practice
Hmm.
those things that we spoke about.
Yeah, that soul spark. I love that. I don't know why I love the sound of that soul spark. So it's like people can get that soul spark, going through these different, ways that you have shared and
Yeah, get
just,
it going and
yeah,
change
get it going. Get
becomes
that
like
soul fire burning, rekindled.
yes.
That's
We
beautiful.
all we all have a soul. Like if we were to ask, what does our soul really want? Everyone's got an answer. It's like, oh, or might want to replace soul with heart. It's like deep within your heart, what you want to do, who you want to be. It's all there. We just deny it a lot of times. Once again, because we're so busy
So we're
and we don't
slowing
give
down.
ourselves the time, the presence.
Mm, slowing down, taking the time, being present. Yeah,
Mm.
letting that come through. That's beautiful. So thank you. Thank you so much for sharing here today on the show, your beautiful wisdom, your beautiful presence. And I want to invite you to share how people can connect with you, outside of this podcast.
Yeah, thank you. Well, my business name is Sovereign Souls, um, and that is really about bringing back our soul connection and just being in charge of ourselves. So our soul's running the show, not so much the ego. So that's what that means, in case people are wondering. And obviously, it's a whole deeper kind of presentation on that, but in a nutshell. And my website is sovereignsouls.com.au. That's got all my social media handles and a lot more about me and my journey and my sessions.
Mm,
And so I offer sessions online. I offer sessions in person where I live here in Queensland in Australia, group
beautiful.
sessions, and mostly, my work is bringing through light language, quantum healing, opening up that channel, and also some spiritual mentoring. But as you know, being a light language channel as well, it's very activating. So when we're doing that, we're obviously activating. I know that I activate codes in others, so my clients get activated. And the other day, somebody in a session was activated with their light language, for example.
Oh, beautiful.
You know what I mean? So we are activating each other, and that's the way I work. And I also am a space holder and a frequency holder, so I try and hold space for whatever you're going through. And as a lived experience of having trauma,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter what the trauma is that my clients have, because I can hold space for it. And that's another reason why I understand my soul experienced what it experienced, so that I can hold space for others who have similar experiences. So it's quite beautiful how we support each other.
Yeah, that is beautiful.
It is beautiful. It's
You
amazing.
you are beautiful, Michele. So thank you so much again for being here and sharing. And yeah, connect with her. She does amazing work, and she's just a beautiful, beautiful soul. So thank you for tuning in, and have a beautifully divinely inspired day, week, life. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I love
All
it.
right.
Thank
Till next time. Bye bye.
Thank you, Patricia. I love you.
I love you too. Thank you for listening to this episode of The Divinely Inspired Woman. Again, I'm your host, Patricia Wald-Hopkins, and I am so glad that you joined us here today. I hope you left with some soul food to inspire your daily life. And if you would like to learn more about my work, please check out my website, patriciawaldhopkins.com, and you can find out more about my divinely inspired practice and tools. So, thank you again. Have a beautiful day. Hi. I'm dropping in here with an announcement about a program, a new mentorship that I am offering. It's called Voices of Gaia, and it's about bringing your voice, your leadership, your life in alignment with Gaia's guidance. So if you feel called to learn more about this program, it's a beautiful, rich program where we dive into your essence, and if you so desire, we develop your business around it, and really blossom into your whole lifestyle, this wisdom from Gaia that wants to be spoken through you. So if you feel called, reach out to me at patricia@patriciawaldhopkins.com. That's patricia@patriciawaldhopkins.com. There's no hyphen between Wald and Hopkins. And I would just love to hear from you and see if this is a good fit. So thank you for tuning in. Have a beautiful day.